Welcome to a new and exciting week here at Play the Game You're In. We're going straight off here. We didn't even have a pre-show. We're just diving right into the game. I mean, it's going to be real.
Hello.
So, hello, Jacqueline. Hello.
Hello. And this week we are joined with Chantel Girardi, and she is a boss in her game. And that's why we asked her to join this week for Play the Game You're In, so that she can talk about her journey transferring location to location and then entering a saturated market, and not just succeeding in that market, but then becoming a leader in that market. So welcome to Play the Game You're In.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Well, I am a Facebook strategist, and I empower business owners with the skills and strategy to successfully manage their own Facebook profiles, to get clients, create opportunities, and grow their business.
That was a little too good.
It's rehearsed. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's rehearsed.
It's like you knew that was coming, but you didn't. So let me see if I got this story right, because I think I've got it backwards. So you were born in South Africa, you lived there, and then you transferred over to Australia, and you've been there ever since. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been here now for 8 years, so you hear I've got a bit of a mixed accent, a little bit South African, a little bit Australian. So I have been here in Australia on the Gold Coast for the last 8 years. I'm giving away my age now. I think I was 34 years old when I moved here, around there. And I had identical twin daughters that were 4 years old, and my youngest was 1 at the time. And I had mommy and daddy and all the cousins and aunties, and I also had nannies in South Africa to help me with everything. And I grew up there, so everybody kind of knew me, and I had my own health, wellness and fitness center in South Africa, and everybody had watched my journey there, so it was quite well known. But then my husband at the time got a job transfer to come to Australia. And like most South Africans, if they get an opportunity to leave the country, they do. Just because of the political unrest that they've been going through. So we packed our bags, and within 3 months, I think we gave up absolutely everything. So we had paid off houses, cars, my gym, everything, and we just jumped on a plane and flew here and started from scratch. And knew absolutely nobody. Nobody knew us. And yeah, it was pretty exciting and scary all at the same time.
I love it. It's right up my alley. That's like right up my alley. That is awesome. So basically starting from ground zero. Okay. That's all right. Nothing wrong with any of that. One thing that I'd heard was that when you moved to the Gold Coast, the market that you were in was completely saturated with people in your industry. Am I understanding that correct?
Yeah, 100%. So the whole goal of when I moved to Australia was that I was going to be a house mom, and I was going to look after these 3 kids under 5. And my husband at the time, he was going to be the primary breadwinner, and he was going to be, earning money, and I was staying at home looking after the kids. However, in the first couple of years of us being here, he was made redundant twice, which meant I kind of had to step up and go, well, I'm going to need to work now. I'm going to need to do something. And of course, in South Africa, I was a personal trainer. But everybody knew my fitness journey there, going from being overweight to losing weight. They kind of followed me, and you got family and friends and everyone supporting you, which is great. When you come to the Gold Coast, there's like a personal trainer on every corner. Like, they're everywhere. And they're hot. Like, they're good looking. They are fit. They were younger than me. And everybody knew them, and everybody knew their story. And literally I knew nobody, and nobody knew me. And I was not a professional sports person at that time because I had my kids. So I wasn't doing any of that anymore. So literally was starting from scratch with nobody knowing me.
And that's interesting to me, because you had such a following and such success in South Africa, and that branding, you developed and you established that brand. I think it's important to point out, especially to our listeners thinking on transitioning or even doing a lateral move into another industry, there is a rebuild that has to happen. There has to be a refocus. It might not be from scratch, but it doesn't just automatically move with you. Did you feel
100%.
defeated at all?
Look, I'm kind of like that by nature. I'm a little bit of a go-getter. If you haven't seen that yet, just to now, well, they can't see me, but I'm talking with my hands and I get very excited very easily. So I kind of like a challenge. So I quite enjoyed it. But I love what you said there about the whole rebranding and transitioning, because when you come to a new country, there's a couple of things that you've got to first deal with. I mean, this time round, I had no help. So I had these 3 kids under 5 that I now also had to personal train and take with me because I couldn't do that. So I had to build my business around mothers groups at that stage. I focused on mothers groups because I thought I could bring my kids, they can bring their kids, and we'll all train together. And that was the target market, because I couldn't do early mornings and evenings, and because I had to have my children with me. Because by then my ex-husband was now applying for other jobs. So it was, it was really, there is a transition. And then culturally as well, South Africans tend to tell people what to do. And in Australia, Australians like you to be asked. So you've got to ask, is it okay if you do this? Or is it okay if I give you some feedback? Is it okay if, so I had to kind of also look at the way that I was going to sort of effectively communicate to a new sort of audience.
Right.
And get to understand that audience better, and then also create a business around something that was going to be suitable for me, that I could actually do. So go with the flow rather than go against the grain.
I mean, you're talking about playing with every single game piece that you have available to you. You're not looking at anything as an obstacle. You're looking at it, how do I adjust to leverage what's in front of me? Like the mommy groups, that's genius. And I think a few other people, to them, they're like, oh, of course. But if they were in that same position, they would be like, I mean, I have to be at home with the kids. I can't start a business from the ground up. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's something that I love to do, is I just love to look at something and go, well, how can I make this work? And not only just, it needs to work for me, and then it also needs to work for everyone else. There needs to be a match between those things. So if I can work out, what it is that I'm good at, and I talk about this when I talk about creating your offers and that for Facebook, there has to be a match. You've got to enjoy doing it, and somebody's got to want to pay you for it. And you've got to find out what those things are.
I mean, not only that, you hit another part too with that, Jacqueline, but I couldn't believe this one. You made a great point. The cultural differences between South African and Australian. I think a lot of people forget that different cultures are very, very different in business too. It's not just accents and religious and political. No, this is a whole different country. This is a different world. And it's funny you brought it up because I had a mistake kind of with that. When I was in the Marine Corps, we switched pilots with the Aussie Army. We sent one Marine down and we got one of their pilots, and he deployed with me. And he brought me into this whole understanding of like, dude, I mean, I know what you're doing, but sometimes you got to ask. It's like, no, I don't ask. Asking's overrated. After he did that, I was like, I guess that works once in a while. So it's really cool that you brought that up. So culture shock, that's huge. You overcame it. That's a monster. Way to go, man. That's phenomenal.
Then you have to have then the willingness to not see that as an obstacle or to see that as an objection, but rather just to see that as something that you can personally just work on, just to bridge that gap. Yeah, one of the things I did is that you just take it into your branding as well. So what I recognized is that I am energetic, I am enthusiastic. It's not going to translate to everyone. Whoever I'm going to work with, whether it be in personal training in those days or now even in my Facebook coaching, they know me as the hard taskmaster. Like they know that. They know that like I'm an action taker, and they know that I'm dynamic. So that has become part of my personal branding. So it kind of eases that. So what happens is you end up attracting people who actually want that from someone, people who want that accountability, who want somebody who's going to tell them what to do. So it's somebody, because there are people out there. So that's the other thing, is that it's perfectly okay. There's some people who are not going to like it. There's other people that are going to like it. So I just made a part of my personal branding now, which bridges that gap, so that when people come and work with me, straight away they know that that's how I am. And that's what they want from me, and they're happy to pay me for that.
I love that you can ask somebody, which one are you? Are you like to be told, or can you do it on your? I love that. I wish it was like that in every job interview. Like, oh, hold on, are you the kind of person that takes lead, or are you the kind of person that I need to be like, hey, are you done yet? Are you gonna do this? Oh, I love it.
Brian, you
so
mean
easy.
Leaders to ask their people how they best communicate and process information? Is that what you're asking for? Because that's a tall order.
If only we could do something like that.
Break a code. Come up with some sort of question that could help.
This is one of the funny things that Jacqueline and I have definitely talked about several times in other podcasts. We both are in California for the longest time. She's still there. I thankfully escaped. But California labor laws and just different things when it comes to asking questions and how to break things down, man, it's a heck of a game in itself. It's its own board. So it's always a good one there. So sorry, I didn't mean to digress. I have that habit, but it's always on some point. I honestly, I'm always there. What are your standouts that make you that person? Everybody's like, I need her. That's who I want.
One of my strongest abilities is I have this way to activate, motivate, and inspire people, and I get them to take action. I help to lead and help them to take action, and that is easy for me. It's just a natural thing. Even when COVID came, straight away I just go, what can I do now? What can I do now? And that's a natural thing for me. So I think that's me. That's who I am, and I don't believe everyone is like that. And there's people that are needing that in their lives, and that's where I fill that gap. And it's the same. I did it in personal training, and now I do it in Facebook coaching. So it's actually the same thing. It's an education-based thing of coming up with a solution to a problem.
What was behind the move from fitness and health into Facebook and strategy and growing businesses across all industries?
Yeah, excellent. Great question. So just like I had been overweight, didn't like being overweight, decided I would learn how not to be overweight, and then became a trainer to help other people so they wouldn't be overweight and they could learn to eat to lose weight and be healthier. The same sort of thing happened with the whole Facebook transition, in that I was running this health, wellness, and fitness studio, and I had all these other subcontractors that were renting space from me. And every week they struggled to pay me rent because they were struggling to get clients. So I started to run these weekly meetups where I would bring speakers in to help the subcontractors in aspects of their business. So all aspects of business, marketing, client generation. And it was great. We used to have about 10 to 20 people each week who used to come along in the health, wellness, and fitness industry. And that really helped to improve that. Every now and then I couldn't get a speaker, so I spoke because you can see I love to speak. And I would stand up and I would always talk about how I had used Facebook to get my own business up and running. How I had grown my personal branding on the Gold Coast. I had built my business up using unpaid free Facebook. And before long, I had everybody asking, could I just be speaking every week? And I had everyone from all industries coming saying, please, could you show us how to do it? Like, we don't have a marketing budget. We don't know what to do. No one else is doing it. There's all these other people saying, we'll do it for you. And they cost a fortune. But we are business owners, small to medium-sized business owners. We want to learn to do it ourselves. We just need to be shown how. And that's how I developed that program. And eventually I was doing both for about a year and a half. Almost killed me because it was like 5 a.m. starts in the gym. And then working with Facebook in the day, and then PTing and training at nighttime, and managing a health, wellness, and fitness center. And I let it go a year ago. I just went, you know what, time for me now to focus on the one.
When we first started the conversation, right away you could feel your energy. You're definitely that energetic type. I can see how people would be drawn to you. Absolutely. So I think this is, I'm like smiling. I'm loving this. What made you want this to be your game, though? What made you want to play this game?
I think it's the same thing that always is that when I see other people struggling with something that I was struggling with, I go, well, I'll learn how to do this because I have this innate ability that if there's a problem, I'm just going to go figure out how I'm going to solve it, create a solution for it. And then when I recognize everyone else has the same problem, it's like, I want to help you. I don't want you to go through the same pain, the same suffering, wasting all your time, all your money, trying to figure it out yourself. I figured it out for you. Let me show you how.
That's awesome. I mean, that definitely speaks to the epitome that Jacqueline and I kind of play with, leave it better than you found it. So, I mean, that's awesome. One of the fun things too is when Jacqueline before, and this is how we've learned how to talk about adapting to those. When we first started this podcast a year ago, actually, we're coming up on our 1 year, Jacqueline would get interference. So if somebody called in on a radio to the tower, her signal went out. It was done. We weren't talking. So we'd be paused and be like, oh, okay, we're good again. So it's all about evolution. So I'm loving that. All right. So let me get back on the train track here. What was your biggest struggle though? You've got two, and the way I see this, I don't know. I kind of see this as two different sides of the track. With Facebook, that's one piece, but I could see how you could pull stuff from the coaching and for personal training, I could see how you could pull that over and kind of adjust with that. So, but with those ones, what's been the biggest struggle in this type of business for you?
Good question. I would say probably when I was transitioning and going across, I came against some objections from people. So when you're trying to transition or change, and I was speaking and doing the Facebook coaching, and I had everybody starting to follow me, I had a lot of objection from other people going, well, how can you do this? You're a personal trainer. You've got 20 years experience in the industry. You've grown health, wellness, and fitness centers for 20 years. How on earth now can you become a Facebook marketing strategist guru? So I would say probably personally, emotionally, getting the confidence to do it, because I just used to fill in and do it whenever there wasn't a speaker. Probably for the first year, I would say I lacked the confidence because I had that objection. I almost started questioning myself, how could I do it? And one day I woke up and I went, you know what, I am doing it. It doesn't matter what everyone else says. I am actually doing it, and these people actually want it. So it's okay. Whatever they're saying, it's okay. I will do both. I did do both successfully for 2 years at least. It was exhausting, but I did do it successfully. I've doubled both businesses actually in that time. So, but I also knew then when to pull away. So I would say, personally, it was probably the hardest thing. Is just that transition. And the confidence to do it, not listen to all the other noises around you, whether or not they were my own and from everyone else, saying that it's not possible to do it.
You've had to, the reason why I absolutely love your story is because you had to deal with not just one or two obstacles, but you had to deal with the whole gambit, reignite your career. You had to repave that path. And then you had to deal with self-doubt, but also naysayers. I mean, did you have to deal with imposter syndrome at all when people were questioning you?
Yeah, definitely in the beginning. Yeah, for sure. And in the midst of that as well, I also left my husband. So that was also ginormous.
Okay, so all the life changes. You said all the life changes. You know what? We're just going to handle it all, hit it all at once. Really?
I kind of go, well, I had a midlife awakening. I called it a midlife crisis for a while. And then I went, well, you know what? I've walked into such a better, more awesome space. And I came out the other side. So I call it a midlife awakening, where I just woke up and I went, this is not kind of what I wanted with my husband at the time. It just wasn't what I wanted. And I decided to walk away from that. And from a South African perspective, that's not a thing that you do. South African women do not leave the men. Like, you just don't do it. You just stay. You just grin and bear it. So it was quite a big thing then having to walk away. Plus, at the same time, start this health, wellness, and fitness center, split share the children as well. It was really, really sort of hectic at that time. And to tell you the truth, like, if you read some of my earlier bios, you will hear how I spent almost a year in tears. If somebody asked me how I was, I'd go, I'm fine. And I just burst out crying. So, now, like, I'm smiling and I'm happy, but I like to tell people that story because it's like, you know what? It can happen. Like, you can cry for a whole year. But then it's time at some point to go pull up your big girl panties or your big boy panties and cut it and walk forward. And I think for me, that was one of the biggest things. I went and I saw a psychologist. I started working on personal development. She told me that crying was normal. It was a release. So when you have all these stresses and you have all these changes and all these things that you're dealing with, when you hold them in and you walk around and you act all tough, at some point you're going to blow like a volcano. And mine was just a volcano of tears for a year. So even though I was still doing stuff and working towards something, I literally cried for a whole year. The sooner you get used to the roller coaster ride, the more fun it'll get. So everyone, screaming as you go up and then crying as you go down and absolutely freaking out. But the more you do that and the more you get on that ride, the more enjoyable it actually becomes. It's like, oh, okay, bad day, lost a bit of money today, or that didn't work out, or whatever. That's okay. And it doesn't hit you as hard. You just cut it and you move forward. So I think that's what I learned in that whole time that happened.
The combination of you is astonishing to me. Just because you make true decisions, logical decisions, thought out decisions, but then you follow that up with deliberate actions. And then you somehow still keep yourself open and flexible to not just utilize tools and resources that are available to you, but to recognize that there are tools and resources available to you, that every obstacle, every problem has a solution.
Yes, 100%. So I think what happens is a lot of people will do sort of personal development, or they'll read, or they'll do stuff, but then they lack the action. They don't take action. They don't take, and that's where that fear sets in. I seem to not have that fear. I seem to be able to do that quite well. So I think that's why it kind of makes me a good coach, because I can help others do that. I can help them over that part where they get stuck, where they just can't take that action or implement that action. But also to say to them, hey, it's okay, but now what are we going to do? Are we going to cry about it? We're just going to move forward. Just keep moving forward.
One of the things I absolutely despise, and I shouldn't because this is kind of me, is I hate the word I can't. Or when people say I can't. It's like, is it I can't or I won't? Because once you threw that at them, they're like, whoa, what do you mean won't? Just tell me. I mean, do you want to give up? Or what is this? So I love it.
Just listening to you and talk and hearing, the journey that you've had up to this point, I'm actually not being as aware as I should be. Do you ever lose steam?
Yeah, definitely. And I think as you get older, it does happen as well. I had a bit of adrenal fatigue just after I had the two businesses going at the same time. So I had to readjust my levels as well and better manage my levels so that I could be, because I am an uppity person, but every now and then, yes, I just crash and just go, oh my gosh, but what I've learned is that whatever you focus on, you will see. So if you're focusing on all the obstacles, if you're focusing on all the problems, are you focusing on how you even feeling towards those problems, that's what you're going to see. When we focus on, it's the same as, I'll give you a health tip here as well. If you focus on all the food you can't eat, all you see is the food you can't eat. So it almost makes it too hard for you to go on an eating plan. But when you focus on all the food you can eat, then suddenly you see an abundance of food that you can still eat that will make you stay on that plan. And it's the same concept.
I've gotten to the point now where a lot of times I just say, why, what's the point? And I've learned a lot of that has come from, do I want to invest in this? And I think that's a lot of people forget is that, well, when people need help, it's an investment in your time and it's an investment in your soul. And it's if you're going to do that, that's awesome. And I think you should invest in people. I absolutely do. And you're investing big in people. You are a life changer, and you are the kind of person that sounds like, just based on this conversation, that have made people better. And that's phenomenal. It's one of the best things you can ever ask for in life, is to be one of those people. Lately, for me, mine's all self-driven choice of just, call it self-sabotage, call it, well, I've done this long enough to be just lazy, whatever it is. But on the same one, it's like, I know better. we all know better. It's just a matter of, well, what do you want to do about it? I don't know. Do I really want to get up and go do this?
If you're content where you are right now, At some point, you're at a steady state. At some point, it's going to be, okay, I'm ready to make a change. And then you will apply, new things, and you will try new things because you're working towards something, but you have to want it and you have to be ready for it. And that's okay.
You're good. You used a word I hate, content. You're content with your life. Oh, damn it. She got me. Get out of my head. I'm not content. You don't know me.
And Jacqueline, what you said earlier is about something. You said something about, starting something and then, looking at maybe something else. One thing that I learned is that people tend to get shiny light syndrome. So when something doesn't work, they jump to the next thing. And they do it quite easily. And what happens is when they do that, it's generally because they've got to a part that's hard and a part where they're stuck. So what they do is they jump to the next thing and they go and do the same thing there until they actually get to that same part. So dig your heels in and get past that part, get uncomfortable, learn something new, and try to get to the other side of that part, because it might just be that part that's wrong, not that whole thing that's wrong, that whole strategy that's wrong.
Right. And what's behind that moment, I think you've got to look at as well. Because I know for me personally, I think that a lot of things over the course of the past year and a half is catching up to me. What I handled, because I had a lot of personal and I had a lot of professional changes and burnout and loss. So, and I think that when I started out something new, of course I had this energy and I had this motivation, but I think that it's important, especially for our listeners, to kind of package this up, is that you went through 4, 5, all of them. You went through all of the main stressors that one person could take in a lifetime that you're not supposed to have in a very close knit point of time. And you did. And you still moved. You kept movement through that. And that is definitely something that that we hear in repetition, is that you have to keep that movement and you have to keep that work through on it. But I really like the point that you're bringing up, in that you have to look behind that as well and truly understand, is it something new and shiny, or are you just not moving through something that is hard because it's for the sake of it being hard? Or is there something like what you went through and you had to say, okay, I can feel how I feel and I need to lean into that so that you can enjoy the ride, you can enjoy the game as you're playing it. And I think there's a fear component in that, because when things stop running smooth, or when you start losing momentum, if you don't look at why things have roughened up or why you're losing momentum, I think we just stay in the fear set of it. Like, oh, it's all going downhill now. Well, strap on your seatbelts, it's going to hell.
And when you focus on that fear, that's what you'll see. And that's just going to make it worse. And it's going to get compounded. So it's better for you not to look at that fear. It's good for you to recognize that fear and go, hey, fear, I see you. Okay, but then what am I going to do? And there's 2 things. I'm going to look after myself, and I'm going to strengthen my bubble. So strengthen but personal development, my own physical health, my mental health, and your ability to tackle things when they come at you. And then the second thing is, for goodness sake, go get help. Whatever that is, go get help. If you're fearful right now because, say, for example, you don't like making sales calls, and that's the aspect now that you've got to do in your business, and you hate sales calls, for goodness sake, go get a sales coach. Go and read a book on how to be a better sales coach. Go watch some YouTube videos. Like, go and empower yourselves. And that's why I always use empower yourself with skills and strategy.
It's not a common feeling that I have in interviews, but I feel like we should pay her, like some sort of like coaching fee, or like, can we barter? Can we try? I just feel like this was more of a session. You know what I mean? That's what I'm getting out of it. Like, you have given me a lot of things to think about. I've already started a list. I'm a list maker, and you've given me a lot of like direction that I absolutely needed, especially today. So, wow, thank you for that.
It's funny because there's 3 or 4 instances of things you have mentioned in here that we've done podcasts on. And one of them in particular that Jacqueline knows is my favorite is hate keeps me warm. I love the haters. I absolutely love haters, because when people are haters, like in your situation, they were just hating because they wanted to take you down. And you were just like, oh, that's all you got? Oh, you're cute. And then you just persevered and passed through it. So I absolutely love haters for that one, because they're always going to try to knock you down because they want what you have. And I think that's phenomenal. I mean, and then when you brought up the other one about getting unstuck, that was our very first episode, actually, when we were first named Unstuck. Jacqueline and I had first talked about how do we get out of those phases. And we played with that for about 3 or 4 episodes. Then we switched over to this because we realized we were destined for much more. We're bigger, and we've got a lot more to offer than being just stuck. So it's been fun hearing the things you talk about, because it's like, damn, it's not just us. There are people just like us out there that actually think about these things. And I think it's really, it's just, you're amazing. And I think this is great. I definitely have seen Jacqueline scrabbling away. It's been fun. I'll admit I hunt and peck. I can hide the camera since you guys can't see my thing. You'll see my eyes moving because I'm definitely moving stuff to type. And I mute so she can't yell at me for it, because I'm trying not to be like her in the lists, but I'm getting there. But if anybody, in my opinion, if you're not sure about anything, you hit the nail on the head. Just go get help with it. And being helped doesn't need to be a scary thing. And I think that, granted, from the American side, I don't know on the Aussie side even a little. I won't even pretend to even try. But so many people, it seems, in our peer groups and other friends are scared to ask for help. And it's not that hard to just say, hey, I don't understand this. How do I do this? And just figure it out. There's so many resources, free resources. And it's only going to make you better and more successful. So why wouldn't you take a step in the right direction? And you're just embodying that, and well, good on you. So I know we're coming up close to the time here. So I do have one last easy question for you. So looking back, out of all these years you've been doing this, out of all these years you've been playing your game, would you have changed anything, or are you happy with how it all came out?
Good question. I didn't like that crying for a year. That really made me.
That's fair.
Because seriously, I would first start crying if somebody just said, hey, how are you? And even if I was fine, I would cry. So like, it was embarrassing. I could be talking just normally and I'd just trickle. But as I said, that was an emotional release of holding everything in for so long. So I didn't like that feeling, you know. But however, it's that release and being able to do that has probably got me or helped me to be where I am right now. So if that's part of the process, and if I needed to do that to be where I am right now, then I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that year that I cried. If that was what it did here, I don't have any regrets. No, I don't think I do. You know, I always say, oh, I wish I'd probably read more books, or done sort of more online free courses and whatever. But yeah, I don't know. You know, everyone has, I suppose, wishes and things that they would want to do. But no, I wouldn't change anything, I don't think.
Good on you. I got a whole list of stuff in a backpack I keep buried under, you know, explosives and cement and scary stuff that I never can open up. So that's awesome that you can do with that you were able to go through that. So that's phenomenal. You're happy with where you are on that. Good job.
And I think I just wanted to add on that I've only experienced a taste of what you've been talking about, to where you can look back and go, yeah, there was some really high highs, some really low lows, and some struggles, but overall, very happy with the way that I handled it and the way that I persevered and what I did on that. And I have a little bit of taste of that, where I look back on how I handled something and go, no, I wouldn't do it any different. I mean, even if there's some components that I would change, no, I'm overall happy. And what you just made me realize, my eureka moment, was that in those moments where I don't look back and have a regret, or, oh, what if, or should have I, or if only I did or could have, is when I was approaching it the way that you approach your life, which is deliberate action. And I should go check.
You throwing people?
No, not unless I became an X-Men in the last 2 minutes and did this like a weird trick. Okay. Let me finish my.
You want to go? Okay, I was gonna say, you want to check that or?
I think it was just chance closing the door. Yeah.
And go.
Okay. Well, now I've lost my train of thought. Maybe it'll come out better this way. I think it's because I've approached it the way that you've approached things, which is with, thought out, but decisiveness and deliberate action. And I think when you show up 100% and you try 100% and you are giving it your everything, that you have little regret. You wouldn't change anything.
I think no, and I think that also we have to give ourselves permission to not be perfect and to not get it right all the time. So even if I look back at things and go, oh, I could have maybe done that. I could have maybe done that. Look at those as learning moments, but also in that moment that felt right. In that moment that was right. And even though it may not have been perfect, that's okay because none of us are. So I think that if we put this expectation, because I actually like to be right all the time, and I like to be right all the time. I like to be perfect, but I'm not. So I've had to give myself permission, because if we put that expectation on us, it becomes almost unachievable for us to do anything. We actually just step inside and get in front of ourselves. So if we just go, I'm not perfect, it feels good right now, I'm going to try it anyway, and it's okay if it's not perfect, and it's okay if I don't do it right. We'll learn from it, and we'll just move forward.
Oh, too many people have a perfect complex. It's even, Jacqueline, remember our fun days when we were in Marines, it's knowing perfection to lie beyond the capable hand of any mortal person. It's like, why are we trying to strive for perfection then if we know we can't achieve it?
Right.
We're going to strive for it, but we're going to fail. Oh, well, that sounds great. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You always strive for your best, and if you don't, learn from it. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things that I did learn when I was doing that transition as well is that all you have to do is know more than the person that's paying you. So some people think that because they're not they feel like they're not an expert, or you are an expert in that thing if you know more than that other person that's happy to pay you for that. And as long as you give them good service, and as long as you give them those expertise and help them to get there quicker, it's valuable.
Yep, absolutely. I think a lot of people forget that it doesn't have to be who's the smartest person in the room. It's like, it's okay. We'll work together. I'm here to help you. You know something better than me. And I love that. I think if everybody could work together on collaborations like that, you can go so far. So brilliantly done and brilliantly stated. Jacqueline, what are we having on timeline? I know we're probably coming up closer to us to close it down.
It's time to wrap up.
All right, good. I got some stuff here. The easy ones. Do you want to close it down and then you do, and then you guys, all right, so I'll do this part and then you'll do the final thoughts between. So Chantel, you got to think about some good final thoughts.
Because you're going to go first.
You are. So I actually gave you a warning. The last two people I didn't. Your interview's been more fun. So, all right. So everybody, thanks for tuning in today. It's been awesome. It really has. It's been eye-opening and it's been a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed this interview a lot more than I expected I could have possibly. Normally I'm like, okay, how's this going to go? Is this going to be a little awkward? No, this was perfect. This was a great conversation. So if you guys want, I definitely recommend it. Take a look at our webpage. It's www.chantelgerardy.com.au. Do not forget about the .au. She's in Australia, people. One of the awesome parts too, when you go through her webpage, she has a free download for a 2020 content calendar. I highly recommend you take a look at that and then get in touch with her, because she is going to do amazing things with you. So really take a look at that. You can always contact us at thegameyou'rein@gmail.com or at thegameyou'rein on the Book of Face, because we are always on Facebook and we always respond. Check out all our episodes on all your favorite podcast stations, and especially on Transistor. At the old thegameyou'rein.transistor.fm. So that wraps up this week. Let's do those final thoughts. and being our guest of honor, would you please close us out with your final thought?
My final thoughts is you can do it. You can do it. As simple as that, you can do it. And if you don't do it right, it's okay. You can learn from it. If there are naysayers, if you are the naysayer, then get rid of that by empowering yourself with some personal development, some reading, some self-care. And if you are around naysayers, get rid of those naysayers. You don't need them in your life. So the good thing about Facebook is you can block them. So no need to get into a conversation, just simply block them. I wish life was that simple off of Facebook. But you do need to watch the people that you surround yourselves with, because they are either going to motivate and inspire you, or they're going to hold you back. And as I said, if you're that person holding you back, make sure that you empower yourself to get rid of that, and so you can move forward and be the awesome you are.
Thank you. My final thought for today is social media is definitely on the landscape of business, and you have to build a brand, and you have to build a relationship with your clients and with individuals so that you can grow your business. I think that if you have not yet, in listening to this podcast, Googled Chantel, or if you have not gone to her website yet, you need to work with someone like her, because you have to get your Facebook game strong. But as you've witnessed throughout this entire episode, is she's really going to help you have aha moments so that you can strengthen who you are authentically, so that you can build your brand and make it strong and fierce. You've done that, many times over. You're still going strong. I'm excited that I now know you, and I'm thankful for the last hour. So if this is just a sneak peek of what it's like to work with you, I have to tell you, you're worth every penny.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do I even need to speak? I mean, you kind of nailed it all, man. Absolutely. This has been a fully educational hour, and it's been absolutely wonderful. We're really glad and thankful that you came on. We hope that it was fun for you, because that's always the most important part, is to have some fun in these busy down times of the plague of 2020. It's always nice to be able to hear a fresh voice and definitely a fresh perspective. I think nowadays, it's easy to get in the rut. It's easy to just be stuck, and especially with being stuck in the house at all times and the stuff on the TV and the news and whatever it may be. Get outside, get your life back in your own hands, take control of the situation. Don't let the noise bother you. If you want to build a better light bulb, build a better light bulb. If you want to make a better program, make a better program. If you want to lose 50 pounds, go lose 50 pounds. Start light, but get a trainer. Let's be honest. Call her. She's going to help you. All the way from Australia. I mean, I'm almost motivated enough to get back into running. You have me close. But in reality, these things are all self-choices, and you can do this. Don't let the no, I can't do this. Don't let the bad thoughts get in your head. You can get through it, and you will. And come out to people, listen to these podcasts. There's tons of people that want to help you and that are rooting for you. You don't even know them. So go forth, do great things. We love you guys. See you next week.